Hey, College Success. This is your video for week 10. We're in the double digits. This goes from March 29th through April 4th. So I think maybe we can start to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the end of the semester. And hopefully you are completely back from spring break. I know the first week back from spring break is always a little rough. So we're going to jump in. We're in week 10. This is chapter 4 continued. So I'm just going to kind of pull up the chapter 4 PowerPoint. I'm not going to go through it in detail because this is in your week 9 information and I leave that video up. But chapter 4 talked about soft skills. Like, what are soft skills? Excuse me. And this was, as I mentioned before, not a comprehensive list, but these are some examples of soft skills or transferable skills, things that are necessary to have from position to position or career to career. And it doesn't matter what field you're in. A lot of these transcend that. Excuse me again. One of the things is professionalism and how, there's common traits of what a professional looks like. And every field will have its own specific idea of a professional behavior. But in general, these were some qualities that professionals have. And we also talked about the importance of being professional in your written communication. The chapter then talked about time management, and you did an assignment which evaluated your time, where you look to see how much time you're spending every week on certain activities. Are you using your time wisely as it relates to your goals? How are you spending your time, and where do you have room to maybe make improvement? And possibly, and I read some of yours as you were submitting those, did you identify some time traps? And some of you did, as you were talking about, how you were spending your days, you did realize that you had some time traps on Netflix or your phone or social media, that kind of stuff. And then making sure that you have a good balance. The research said, ideally when you go to school, working around 20 hours is manageable. It helps you prioritize and manage your time. Everyone's a little different, though. The importance is finding the balance that works for you. And we also want to make sure we're not procrastinating. And how do we stop procrastinating? Talk about breaking big tasks down, rewarding yourself, and making sure we're not multitasking, because that actually is more harmful than helpful in the big scheme of things. All right, from there, the chapter went into interpersonal skills. So things like communicating with others, making sure that when you have communication skills, it's not just your verbal, it's also nonverbal, and in how you interact with those people, which also means, how do you handle conflict? In which ways do you interact with those when you do not agree? As well as being intelligent emotionally, understanding and managing your own emotions as well as the emotions of others, and wrapping up kind of on this discussion of working with other people. The 5R approach to group work was mentioned, and group work is kind of a theme in a couple of the chapters we've seen, how to make a more effective and efficient group experience, which also means taking into consideration, different cultures and different backgrounds and making sure we are being respectful of that. And finally, leading to leadership, which is your basis of your discussion post for this week. Leaders and the ideal type of leader, according to our text and research, is this transformational leader, someone who is charismatic, inspiring, intellectually stimulating. They respect other differences. Maybe they even encourage, or, they're open-minded. So that's that transformational leader. So that's a quick recap. Again, the full lecture is in the week 9 folder, but you have access again to that PowerPoint and hopefully again your chapter. So let's get into your assignments. You have 2 assignments this week. Your chapter 4 discussion, your original post for week 10 attendance, is due by Wednesday, March 31st. And again, as a reminder, 250 words is your kind of your goal. You can go over it. You just don't want to fall way short on that. So this is your original prompt. Identify a leader, nationally known, or someone in your community. So it could be someone that all of us are fairly familiar with because they're on maybe a state or national platform. Or it could be someone in your community. I've had people write about pastors in their church. They've written about their employer. They've written about a family member. So whoever it is, you're going to explain why you chose that person. So, if you're choosing someone who you know personally, obviously the rest of us won't know that person. So you're going to give some context. Why is this person a leader? What kind of qualities do they have? And maybe you start to see some themes emerge. So maybe as you're talking and explaining how this person is a leader, you say, oh, wow, they're really kind, or they're really motivational, or they're a really good conversationalist, something like that. Like, what kind of themes and qualities do you start to see emerge? And then which characteristic or behavior do they have that you feel like you could work on developing? Maybe the person you choose does have some great, effective public speaking skills, and you are still working on that. And so maybe that's something that you could identify, hey, I really think I need to become a better public speaker, and here's how I think I can accomplish that. So, picking that out. I do have to say this, and it's weird that I have to say it, but I had one student a few semesters ago choose Batman for their leader. And they gave a good explanation as to why, and at the point, I didn't tell them they couldn't choose a fictional character. So I am going to put that caveat in. Please make sure you are choosing like a real life person. Now, they could have passed already, so it could be someone who was living who no longer is. That's okay, but just make sure we're not choosing like a comic book character or a cartoon or anything like that. I mean, he made a great argument. It was fun. It was a really great read and a great conversation. It was part of our face-to-face class. But for the purpose of our class, choose like an actual person who is currently living or has been, who is deceased, but explain why they're a leader. And then chapter 4 quiz, you're going to open up your chapter 4 quiz, and you're getting pretty good at the rest of these. I am noticing there is definitely a pattern. The later that these are turned in, and by later I mean like the Sunday submissions, the more points I'm knocking off, because there's a correlation. You're not going into detail. I'm getting like one sentence responses, or you're not hitting on all the points, and I'm assuming it's mostly because time is running out. So just another little plug, please make sure that you're doing this, give yourself time, make sure that you are allowing enough time to maybe even go back and check it. Did you answer all parts of the question? So you can see like the first couple are pretty straightforward, and then again, they start with this like little stories, he's procrastinates. How can you advise him to stop procrastinating? So a lot of these, again, are straightforward, but some people are not getting all their points because they're either not addressing the full question, or as the directions say, they're not responding in 2 to 5 sentences, okay? And because we're online and you have access to your PowerPoints and your book, I do, at this point in the semester, I do knock off points if you're not fulfilling kind of those expectations. So you want to make sure that you submit your chapter 4 quiz by Sunday, April 4th. So again, your original prompt for the chapter 4 discussion is due by Wednesday, and then respond to 2 classmates by Sunday, and then make sure you submit your chapter 4 quiz by Sunday as well. The last thing, in this week, you will be having your final project videos, steps 3 and 4. So that will be a separate video. Steps 1 and 2 was already uploaded. I know some of you have watched it already because I can kind of like monitor the views. So you have your own separate folder for your final project. So you'll go in, there's the directions again, step 1 and 2, that video has been uploaded for a little bit now. Now steps 3 and 4 will be available to you at the beginning of week 10. So you want to make sure you do that. It's not due to the end of the semester, but you definitely want to get started so you're not scrambling at the last minute. All right, hope everyone has a great week. Talk to you next week. Bye.